Hello. We're going to try this again. For those anyone who tried joining in at 3 o'clock, we did run into a technical snag. So thank you everyone for sticking around. I'm uncertain if this is coming in as a new link or if it's the same link to the original event. Uh, the irony is we were just talking about this that
Right.
things things have a tendency of being glitchy, and no sooner did we talk about it, we experienced it. So welcome,
Right.
Kendra. It's great to have you back.
Thank
Great.
you, Mariko.
I
The
was
good
really
news is
hoping
we have the replay either way, right?
that is true.
Yes.
I'm gonna turn on the chat and see who's here with us. So we have LinkedIn user, which may be um, one of two people. It might be Shelly. If it's Shelly, welcome, Shelly. Thanks for listening in. David, thanks for coming back. We had asked you to drop in another chat just to see if whether or not we were live. We were trying to multi-stream, and I think that when I tried to go live on Instagram, I may have done something incorrectly. So I'm not going to blame technology. I will blame this as part of my learning curve. But nonetheless, we digress and we move forward. I I'm excited. We have a great lineup of questions that have been queued up for today's show. We're also looking forward to any participation and questions that may arise from our live audience. So if you'd like to join us on stage, I think this is a good time. I'll drop the link into this event.
hmm Join us on stage, or they can put questions in the chat too if they're not feeling like they want to get on stage today.
Yeah. If you don't feel like an on camera day is in the cards, drop your questions in the chat and we'll be happy to answer those. So, uh, LinkedIn now does say we are live and we are not in the pre live room. So that is good. Um, Now, this morning, you shared a post that talked about this very thing, live streaming, and how 2025 is a great year to go live.
hmm
Maybe I'm paraphrasing.
Oh,
Why don't
you're
why,
you're good.
why don't I let you talk a little bit about how live streaming has become part of your strategy?
Mhm. I think the timing is right to make going live, whether it's on a third party streaming platform like this or live on a native platform like going live on Instagram. It's a great time to make that part of your strategy. I think that the accounts that are doing that are starting to get more attention, and it also just brings in new followers, and it can make it more engaging. Like, I was having a conversation with another social media manager this week, and we were talking about how sometimes we start talking about our business so much, or the businesses on accounts we're working on, that we forget to make social media social. So I think that live streaming really does that, because you're able to interact with the audience, and it brings conversations that are normally in like back rooms and between experts, like out in front, where people are able to see them, learn from them, and engage with them. And that's my favorite part of the live strategy.
Yeah, I totally agree. I, I earmarked a phrase, keyboard warrior, and I was using it a lot at the beginning of the year. And my goal was to be less of a keyboard warrior because, you know, we have a tendency of getting all pent up and excited about the things that we do. And we'll hit the keyboard and we'll start pumping out content that we think is just the next best thing to life itself. And then you get crickets. And it's like, oh, maybe my excitement doesn't resonate, or you realize that tone is read differently, and excitement is different for different people, and simply the way content is consumed is different, right?
And
Uh,
changing all the time. That's
and
true.
changing all the time. So I felt it was perfect time to transition, step away from the keyboard, and bring my authentic self to camera, to audio, just so that my audience can appreciate my content the way they choose to consume it. And I got a little caught up with attendance and how like the numbers of people who are participating and engaging, and I kind of got talked off the ledge when it comes to the whole worry piece. Listen, at the end of the day, radio stations are playing live right now, and we're not listening, right? So yeah, we got to appreciate the fact that our content will be consumed when it's appropriate for our audience,
That's so true.
right?
And the radio stations, they are live right now, but the one thing they don't have that we do have right now is the replay
Replay, you
and the
got it.
repurposing. So,
Yeah, so it's win-win as
mhm.
I see it. I am now starting to dive into a little bit of editing, which wasn't part of my repertoire, but I see the value for for my audience members who may not have or may not want to spend an entire hour, or those who aren't part of my community who don't want to invest an hour in one of our live shows. A 60-second piece, a 90-second piece might be enough to pique their curiosity. Say, huh, you know what? Maybe I should hit Americo's bell and join in one of his future events. Right? So it's if you scare them by saying, "Hey, I need you here for an hour. I need an hour's commitment," yeah, you might not get it. But if you kind of do it in bite-sized pieces, you're going to win the hearts over, and
Mhm.
I think that's important.
Absolutely. And in those bite-sized pieces, I think they're fun to really look for just those golden nuggets we talked about before. Where it's just like, ooh, that right there, that was the good stuff. And that's the stuff I want to share with my audience.
We've had Pamela join us as well. Welcome, Pam. Great to have you here. Great, yeah, looking to join the conversation. Either drop any questions you may have in the chat, or if you'd like to join us on stage, just hit the link and we'll bring you up. Now, because of our um, intro malfunction, we didn't have the opportunity. So I think it's important not to forget. Why don't we introduce ourselves? We just jumped right into the conversation, got all excited. But I think it's important that we share with those listening who we are and who we serve, and before we move on. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay. Thank you, Americo. I love the slides that you put on screen. It helps me just stay on track with what I usually want to say about introducing myself. So, my name is Kendra Knoll. I'm the co owner of Boomtag Media, and I work with service based individuals to help them with their digital marketing strategy using LinkedIn as a main pillar of that strategy.
Fantastic. Now, before I move on and introduce myself, David goes on to type, bites are appetizers to want more. And I know we're going to jump into that a little later in the conversation, but that's exactly uh, the way I would put it. These are
Mhm.
appetizers. You want to be able to pique the curiosity and get people to um, like you, hear you, remember you, and sometimes it happens more effectively with short content or short sound bites. Now, let's introduce myself. My name is Americo DaCosta. I am the founder of Journey Logic. I am a customer experience business coach, and I help service based businesses, small and medium sized businesses, and professionals boost their brand awareness and advocacy. So, part of what I do at the end of the day, when you kind of bring in all the services that I offer and the solutions that I offer, they're all focused on one thing: winning the hearts of the customer. So if you have an urge to talk about anything that is pertaining to your business and you don't know where to start from a customer experience perspective, listen, I'll be able to sit down and share with you, because the customer experience is a very diverse subject, and it's really about understanding the language in which the business priorities are set in. Some businesses set their priorities for sales as being their primary focus. So it's important to have a strategy that is focused on winning customers over. to increase sales. Others focus are on churn and customer turnover. So you want to be able to understand the tone and the language that is being spoken uh, by the organization. And I'm here to support you along the way, no matter what your priorities are. Um, my services are tailored to the needs of your business, and that's the one thing I really like about customer experience. It's not a one size fits all. It's different for everyone, and I really enjoy spending time in the weeds, uncovering things, behaviors, processes that really help drive your business success. So, now, enough about me. Let's jump into this conversation. I know that we had a few questions that were brought in that we have queued up. So, why don't we just jump right into it and start off with our first question that was asked: how can you help increase my brand's online visibility? So I'm going to say that is a marketing question, and we'll start off with you sharing, and I'll jump in where I believe there's going to be value to be added to this question. So over to you,
Okay,
Kendra.
awesome. Yeah, thank you. So, when we're talking about using social media to increase your brand's visibility, I mean, it's the free platforms that help you put yourself out there in ways that weren't available before social media. It's really an amazing way to do that if you use it correctly. So, I think a lot of business owners get lost in like, well, they're doing the back end work and they're not quite sure how they do a personal brand. But I think almost all business owners, up to a certain size business, I'm going to say 5 to 10 or less employees, are key for making a personal brand part of their visibility of their business.
Now, one thing I recognize in terms of visibility, it's not so much where to place it, it's where it's not being placed. And I know LinkedIn is a prime example as to where many businesses miss the opportunity to raise awareness. I talk about it so frequently, wanting to help businesses and professionals be seen, be heard, and be remembered. And being seen on LinkedIn is an opportunity for everyone. Yet we see a lot of inactive business owners, a lot of inactive
Mm.
professionals, um, and you and I and everyone else who believes that this is a perfect strategy to add. Uh, how do you or how do we get in front of those inactive users? What are your thoughts on?
Well, I think the way that it can really be leveraged is to build the authority within industry. So the industry that you're in to becoming known for having like authority and knowledge in your industry. I think that that's how LinkedIn can really be leveraged. As far as reaching the inactive users, um, I think that I send a lot of connection requests, and the people who aren't active, of course, aren't going to be responding or hitting accept. And there may be other reasons why people don't accept, but the people who do, just to be engaged with those kind of users, that's what I really go for is um, trying to build my reputation with the people who are actually using LinkedIn.
Yeah, and I try to take it a step further. So I totally agree, and also um, follow the same steps that you just mentioned. But I also jump on, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Damn it, just it just skipped my mind. But collaborations with strategic partners. There's the
Mhm.
word, strategic
Yep.
partners. Um, so my ideal customer may be inactive, but that ideal customer may have perhaps a marketing agency or marketing firm that is working with them, may have uh, other suppliers that help their day-to-day operation, and it's really about building connections with those adjacent verticals. So In this instance, marketing partners are probably the closest people that I would work with to get to my ideal customer. Many times, marketers are at a crossroads because their customers are not seeing the return on their investment. Hey, I'm spending all this money on social media marketing and all this other marketing initiatives, and I'm not seeing the return. And that's where the whole customer experience piece comes in. Where, as a trusted advisor, I'd like to help that business owner understand, hey, you may not be seeing the return on your marketing spend, not because it's not effective. There could be other underlying issues which I'd like to help uncover so that you can optimize and get the most out of your marketing dollars.
Hmm. That's a great point. David has added to the chat and he says, can you please comment on personal and business page for service-based companies smaller than 5 employees? If they are smaller than 5 employees, I always recommend going ahead and creating a business page. The business page on LinkedIn can be used to repurpose the content and share it and like it, and so that it's getting some more engagement. But if they have more than like 7 employees, I usually start from the business page and ask all the employees to reshare whatever content's been going on the business page. But if they're smaller than 5, I usually go with the business owner. So the content is going to originate on the business owner's personal page instead. That's just kind of a rule of thumb that I use. Mariko, I don't know if you've seen any difference between posting on Journey Logic and your personal page.
Well, it is safe to say that there is less engagement from posts that are originating from my business page.
Hmm.
But for me, it's more about engaging with other businesses so that the brand gets awareness. Not really, not too concerned personally on engagement because I'm getting better return on my engagement numbers from my personal
Hmm.
page. But it's simply to connect me to my business and my business to the companies that I follow and that I engage with, and it's really about creating that whole ecosystem that customers or prospective customers can piece together. Americo is not just making up this brand or speaking of Journey Logic and have nowhere to kind of point or direct customers to. So it
Right.
right it has its purpose, and it does play part of the whole experience game, because at the end of the day, when you talk about experience is really about connecting customers at all interactions. So whether they're a customer today or yet to be a customer, it's really about creating that seamless interaction that allows that customer to easily engage with your brand. So my personal page points to my business page. My business page has some newsletters, some content in it that was shared from my personal page, but it also points to my website where it goes into more details. So it really completes the cycle.
Hmm.
Thank you. Great answer. Thank you, David.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for asking the questions. Keep them coming.
All right. Anything else about visibility before we move on?
No, go right ahead.
All right. I'd like to add a little bit. Sorry.
Okay, go for it.
Visibility for me is important because um, it is known and there's quantifiable data to support it. And I'm sure the number that I quote today has changed and it's kind of moved upwards. But customers today, when they feel that they are ready to make a purchase, prior to making that purchase decision, they are going to do their research,
Hmm.
and they are going to look for product reviews. They're going to look for reputational reviews. They might even dive in a little deeper and go on to employment platforms like the glass doors and the fish bowls to see what employees are experiencing and leaving on their uh, whether they're current employees or former employees. So a lot of time, effort, and energy is being spent prior to a purchase decision. And when it comes to visibility, it's important to understand that customers are exercising this and leveraging this to be part of their purchasing decision. So before they even enter your
Mhm.
funnel, before they even engage with your brand or your organization, there's a lot of movement happening that has to do with visibility. How easy and how readily available are you when someone does a Google search? How relevant are you? Like if you're a small business and you're only serving a local or smaller community, how likely are you to show up in a search engine search? Um, that all ties into to visibility
Mhm.
and being able to know and understand how to rank higher also plays part of that visibility game. And I know last week we talked about SEO, and we didn't talk. We had a guest speaker who
Yeah,
spoke about SEO,
thankfully.
and it kind of all ties nicely together. If you're selling a product, if you're selling a service, whether it's an e-commerce platform or bricks and mortar, uh, being found is vital, and knowing where your customers are is also equally important. So if you're going to set up a Google Business profile, be sure to also have a Bing Business profile. Understand the local directories and other platforms that you can leverage uh, so that you rank and you come up on more searches than you would ever believe you could come up on. All right, I digress from visibility now.
Oh, that was a great addition. I'm glad you said it.
All right, question two. What metrics are important to help measure success? All right, so why don't we start with the marketing side of it? Let's talk about marketing metrics and hear your thoughts and information that you'd love to share.
Mhm. So you brought up earlier how people can easily get disappointed with not seeing the return on their investment. And when it comes to social media, I think that it takes some time and some patience before you even start looking at your analytics. So I would suggest getting consistent first. Once you're consistent, give it 30 days before you even look at analytics. And then another thing is to be comparing yourself to people who have been doing it for a long time and who have been building their engagement, and maybe they have a platform or a podcast or something that's already going to be putting them way ahead. So you can't be comparing where you're at to where they're at. So after you give it 30 days, then I say, to be co- um, checking it frequently and comparing the last 30 days to the prior 30 days and look for where those metrics are improving. And then when you look at your analytics for the last 30 days, it's going to show you like the top performing post out of the ones that you've done in the last month, which posts have performed best. And so that's where really start to look at measurement and analytics, um, is trying to recreate what's really hitting with your target audience, and not getting in that comparison game, because that can just lead you down a hole where you kind of want to give up.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's easy to get caught up in the numbers, and it's easy to get discouraged by the numbers. But this is definitely a long term game plan, and the numbers will change from week to week,
Hmm.
especially in this digital space. So yeah, let's not get hung up on numbers. I came across a post earlier today that touched briefly on the subject in terms of content. Why is my content not working for me? And this particular piece suggested focus on what is working for you instead of talking about 100 different things once. Talk about the same thing 100 different ways,
Mhm.
right? So if from a business perspective, if understanding your audience, understanding what works and what resonates, try not to be all things to all people,
Mhm.
and that will drive and increase and improve success. From a customer perspective and from a customer lens, the whole measure of success, a lot of people lean towards that NPS, the Net Promoter Score, or customer satisfaction score. I personally, I like to stay away from it because it can easily be manipulated. It can easily bring a business uh, or distract a business from its focus. Uh, Metrics are simply a great piece to kind of make sure that you're on track, and that's about it. I always believe, and I always echo the sentiment that focus on the behavior that drives results.
Mhm.
And if you focus on the behaviors, and if those behaviors are meeting the needs of your customers, the numbers are going to fall into place,
Yeah.
right? So if you're chasing a number, you're going about it the wrong way. If you're chasing a solution for your customers, and you're doing that with ease, and you're delighting your customer to the point where they're going to start telling their friends all about you and your business and the support and the help that you bring. It'll bring referrals, it'll drive increased revenue, and once again those numbers just fall into place.
Absolutely. And I think that the distraction can come so easily on the customer's end as well. Like when we're creating content, if we're not getting to the point quickly, that they can get distracted and keep on scrolling by as well. So we've got to make sure that we're getting to the point and making those quick bites enjoyable for the people watching.
Yeah.
One other thing that I was thinking of when you were talking was, of course, now I'm going to lose what I track of what I was going to say. um, we'll keep going. Maybe I'll think of it again.
All right. No worries. All right. So, question number three: how do you stay updated with social media trends and the algorithm changes? Oh man, I bow down to you if you have an answer for this one because I don't know how to keep up, uh, other than signing up for newsletters of industry giants in my
Hmm.
particular space, who are further ahead and got deeper pockets, and they invest in this to keep me apprised. Um, how does it work from a social media perspective?
I think the thing to focus on there is picking the platforms that you really want to invest in. Because if you're trying to keep up with all the trends on five different platforms, you're going to feel defeated very fast. So if you pick like one or two and then you really dive into, like, they all have their really specific offerings that are really unique to that platform. Like here on LinkedIn, the things that do really well are engaging in the comments and talking to people in the DMs. And like we said, being social with your social media. Those things are never going to go away, no matter how the algorithm changes. And then on the other platforms, using lives and stories and that kind of thing, like the things that change. Oh, Instagram now has where you can leave notes on posts. It's always changing, but if you just, like, for me, my main focus is LinkedIn and Instagram. So if you asked me what's new on X, I probably couldn't tell you very much because I don't invest a lot of time there. So finding those platforms that really work for you and your audience, and then using the really unique capabilities within those platforms, and trying to keep updated on the algorithm changes. But I don't think you're ever going to feel like you're ahead in that area.
Fair enough. Now, I can't recall if it's one of the upcoming questions, but I'll ask it here. Uh, Paid or organic reach?
Hmm. So, are you asking which one is better, or what's the
Right. And
difference?
let's start with what's the difference, because in terms of which is better, someone will always say, well, paid reach is going to get you
Hmm.
more reach. But uh, let's park that for now. Let's talk about the difference and then move into what the next part of the question.
Gotcha. Um, so, you can always pay to get more eyeballs. That's why the social media platforms are in business, is they want your money,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of people are going about it in a organic way, which I actually really like. I don't actually pay for ads. I'm always trying organic. I might get to the point where I pay for ads, but if I do, I'm going to have a strategy behind it. So for now, I've been going all organic, which means I'm trying to build that relationship with my followers and not pay for new eyeballs. I'm trying to get those by creating some excitement around the brand, and I think that that's a good way to go about it, unless you have specific sales goals. That's when I would start to employ the paid ad strategy.
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. I've tried paid with with Instagram, simply because it's affordable, and I just wanted to test the waters and see how
Hmm.
many more eyeballs I got. And last year, you'd see the spike in the analytics. You get the impressions, but I didn't get any more calendar events scheduled to talk.
Hmm.
So I'm not a big fan of paying for eyeballs that don't come with the rest of the rest of the person,
Yeah.
because I'm more interested in having a conversation to try to convert someone to a customer than just have someone glance over what I had to share.
Right.
Uh,
Americo, you brought it back. The thought that I had earlier that left me,
Fantastic.
what you said just brought it back. And that was about analytics and what I was going to say. And you were talking about how, don't get caught up in the numbers. And I totally agree with that. If you are getting people to take the action that you're wanting, whether it's book on your calendar or click certain links where you have your sales. If you sell products, if you're selling the products or selling the tickets, or they're doing the action and your analytics don't always match, they don't always go along with it. That's another reason why I wouldn't get distracted, as long as you're getting a consistent growth. Even if you're like thinking, oh, my analytics should be way up here, as long as you're getting the sales, getting the calls booked, that kind of thing, then you're on the right track.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's I'd rather have smaller impressions with higher bookings than large impressions and no bookings.
Hmm.
Um, Definitely. Um, Now, this was a two-part question, and we talked about the difference between both. I Before we jump in, I'd like to share the one thing about organic that I notice a huge difference when it comes to organic. When it when it's just a text or typed piece of content, whether long or short, or just a graphic that is shared, compared to a recorded piece, night and day. It's like
Hmm.
the analytics are just through the roof when you compare the two. So if you're going to stick to organic, it's not only is it cost effective, but also understand what's going to get you a bigger return. And I'm doing less graphics and more of these sound bites, and my calendar is filling up. So that excites me.
Yeah, Absolutely. I think that that's a great strategy. Um, it's hard to convince some people that they should put themselves on video or do video content of some sort. But I've come to the conclusion from a lot of trial and error and testing, the same thing as you, Americo, when I compare the analytics on a post that's just only text or text with a still image graphic compared to a video. The videos are outperforming by far, especially since LinkedIn has changed and made video more of a priority.
You know, question really becomes, at what point does this hype cycle level off? Video, like I'll wake up in the morning and my phone notifications is filled with videos now, and everyone has a video to share. And in time, it'll probably taper off, and something else will become the priority that LinkedIn or other social media platforms will prioritize. But for now, it's really about understanding the trend, and it's okay to get in at midpoint. You just don't want to find yourself getting in at the end of a trend. And I know a lot of people, the example that I hear so often and frequently is people who to this day are just hearing about LinkedIn audio rooms. It's like, wow, I didn't even know they existed. What do you mean they're gone? Where,
Right.
where were they to begin with, right? So they were late to show up, and,
Uh-huh.
you don't want to be late to show up while the video trend is peaking.
Hmm.
So I think we're in it at the right time. Yes, it it may not be perfect some days like we experienced earlier today, but we can still repurpose the content and make the best out of it, and know that we're going to get a return on this piece of content,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And David put another question in the chat. Thank you, David, for engaging there. But he says, repackaging successful content suggestions. So, when you know that you have a particular type of content that's hit with your audience before, I would just suggest trying to do it in a new way. Sometimes I'll go through my content I was doing this time last year. So this time 2024, what was I doing and what was doing well, and then I think of a way to recycle it. And one thing you can do with video compared to like last year was doing a lot of static image posts. I've tried this a little bit because I'm always playing with different things, is using the static image post as a green screen in the background of the video so that I can still talk about it because it was something that got attention from my audience before, or popping it up on the screen and pointing to it, but still having a conversation. That way, I'm using what's working better now, which is video, but kind of recycling content that's done well in the past. That's just one idea.
That's that's a great suggestion, and I'll piggyback on the whole repackaging. I hear and I read a lot of people suggest, hey, just reshare something. When you consider, you know, if we're part of the 1% of content uh, writers, um, and our content is being consumed by a very small fraction of all the users. If you just repost something, eh, even something that you posted last week, there's a good chance that you're going to get new sets of eyes on it, and no one's going to reach out and say, "All right, you just shared this with me last week. What's up with it? Well, like why are you sending this to me again?" You'd be surprised, and some people make that part of their strategy. It's like everything that they post, they'll repost. Either some do it as frequently as the same day. They'll post something at 8 a.m. and they'll post that same article and share it later that evening because they're going to get a different set of eyes on it. So
Hmm.
there's no right or wrong answer, but the answer to help add to your strategy is, don't just put it away and consider it old content. Bring it out from whatever archives you have. reuse it, repurpose it, regenerate it in a different format. So if it was just a short text, then change it to a little recording, talk about it, just make the best of it. Um, at the end of the day, as much as things change, there are also a lot of things that stay the same, and you can't just keep going in and pull new ideas out of a hat when there simply isn't new ideas to generate. Right? So it's about repurposing the existing ideas and making sure, if there were best practices last year and there's still best practices today, to remind our audience and our followers that, hey, this remains a best practice and it's still effective and still works. Well, you're welcome, David. We're happy to answer your questions. Keep them coming and we'll keep answering them. All right, let's move on to our next question. How do you handle negative comments or social media crisis? Ooh, love this one.
Yeah, I think you should go first on this one because I think this is going to be big on the customer experience end.
Hey, at the end of the day, there's one fundamental piece of advice that I give everyone. When it comes to negative comments, do not hide behind them.
Hmm.
Get in front of them. And, our friend Roy echoes a similar message. Judge me not when I'm doing things right, not when I'm doing well. Judge me when I've failed to meet your needs. And the same thing is to be said here. Negative sentiments, negative comments, whether they're on social media platforms, whether they're coming in through a contact center support, people who want to speak to supervisors, people who send emails to organizations or public other public platforms. Get in front of it, whether it's right or wrong. Do not hide behind it. If you did something wrong, then own it
Hmm.
and talk about what steps you're going to take to right that wrong. If it is just banter where someone says that you're wrong or that something wasn't to their satisfaction, do not get into a rebuttal on the social platform. Do not take that conversation offline. Thank that person for sharing their thoughts and their sentiment, and open the door to an offline conversation so that it doesn't become uh, a battle, an online battle, because it could turn around and bite you on the backside and impact your reputation as to how you might be defensive, or you might be taking a stance that others don't align with. Take that, acknowledge it, and take it offline.
Hmm. Yeah, and some larger companies have a whole PR section or, someone who is going to address those comments and like that is their whole job is handling negative attention that comes on social media. Some of us, just really, really small businesses, I think one thing that we have to remember when it's just us is to, like you said, address it, apologize if needed, and then to not take it personal and to remember that we're all human. We're all going to make some level of mistake.
Yep, absolutely. And because we're human, sometimes it's best that we step away and let our emotions simmer down.
Hmm.
Because to respond when you're all fired up with something that you see that you might not agree with, you it can result in you responding with something you shouldn't have said, or that you feel would require a retraction. So sometimes just walking away and coming back to it with a cooler mindset helps.
Hmm.
If there are instances where you don't have the time to respond to these, there are solutions that I'm sure Kendra and I can help your business with when it comes to managing those. I managed a lot of these conversations in my corporate roles. I've had customers. Actually, I had this one customer. A little bit of storytelling here. I had a customer who had a restraining order in one of our offices, and we, by design, to not be able to let this customer go. In all fairness to them, the customer was assigned to me across the country. So I'm on opposite ends of the country, and he got assigned to me because he and we felt this is the best decision. We keep him as a customer. He continues to get service from us, and you know all parties are happy. Well, doesn't he hop on a plane to come see me? Flies across the country, and I was just blown away with when I got the call. It's like, I have Mr. So and so here to see you. It's like, I beg your pardon. so, so be prepared. It's not just on social platforms. If someone's really passionate about what what you've done to them or what you've failed to do for them, understand the possibility and the ends that a customer will go to get their point across, or to get justice, what they feel is justice. So uh, be open to all possibilities.
Mhm. That's an interesting story there. I'm interested to hear more about how that conversation went.
Yes, and I'll be happy to share it with you, with a little more detail, because it, it is quite the story. In fact, I might also save it for one of my other live events where we talk about storytelling.
Perfect. I'll have to watch.
All right. Um, do we have time for one more question?
Okay.
We're at the top of the hour. Let's try to squeeze in one more question here. What platforms do you recommend for my business, and why? So here's I'm going to share my thoughts in terms of services and platforms. More of a cautionary tale. Uh, Technology today has given us so many solutions and so many options, but I just want everyone to be mindful that if we were to buy into every solution that is available, when you take a look at a social media strategy,
Mhm.
I think it's a better investment just to hire someone like yourself, Kendra, to manage this, than it is to buy 10 different or 20 different solutions for editing and for whatever it is. Because $20 a month here, $20 a month there, it adds up. And then you also got to factor in your time, and that you got to spend orchestrating all of this, right? So I won't make any recommendations to one particular platform. I just say, you know, work out the math. Yes, there are options. Yes, there are platforms to help you be more visible, perhaps be more effective. But at the end of the day, understand where you're going to get your biggest value. And
Mhm.
I would say the biggest value is by hiring a professional who wants to look after your business, who wants nothing but the best for your business, so that you can be seen, you can be heard, and you can be remembered. And most importantly, allows you to run your business while we support on the back end.
Yeah, that I mean, that says a lot right there. I think, people can really get lost in the weeds trying to manage all the different platforms when really they hardly have the time that they need to, run their business. And so that's really well said, Americo, and I appreciate it. As far as platforms go, I think that it's going to be very individualized, but having someone who understands the type of business that you're in, what platforms you should be on, and why is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm perhaps read into the question a little differently, and perhaps the answer that was being sought out is, TikTok is is the go-to platform, or Instagram is the go-to platform. And to your point, there's no one right answer. Each business will perform differently on different platforms. Just make sure that you're engaging in a platform that has your ideal customer, and that
Mhm.
when you do engage, that you are addressing your customer, because you can go on the platforms where they're spending most of their time and where they're consuming most of their content. But if your calls to action do not address their needs, then you're just visiting and should I say wasting time, uh, chasing something that may never come to fruition.
Very good point.
All right. So it is just past 4 p.m. here Eastern time, and I know we had a little bit of a rough start, but we did manage to have a great conversation. I want to
Mhm.
thank David and anyone else who has spent the hour with us. Those who had intentions of showing up and may have shown up while we were working out our glitches. We look forward to seeing your comments in the replay. And for now, I think we shut the room down. We had some great questions. We had some great conversation around uh, best solutions and answers from both a marketing lens as well as a customer experience lens. I'd like to thank Kendra for being here with me once again. And in the upcoming episode, I'd like to and see if we can bring on a guest. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think that's a great idea. I would love to have a guest. What kind of guest do you have in mind? Anything in particular?
Um, I have a few ideas swimming in my head. I'm thinking we bring maybe a sales professional and talk about how marketing and sales kind of go hand in hand. Of course, I got 2 weeks to sort this out. Um, I'm leaning towards a sales professional. Last week we had a marketing professional. We talked about the SEO piece of it. I'd like to bring someone from an operations or sales side
Mhm.
and talk about how uh, our our pillars need to and effectively collaborate and drive success for an organization.
That makes sense.
All right. On that note, if there are no other questions, I am going to close the room and thank everyone for spending the time with us. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.